So this is my Suzuki SP125. Just got it the other day. There's no carburetor in there, as you can see, and there is no oil drain plug, if you can see that. No, I don't know. Anyway, there's no oil drain plug, so there's no oil in it. So I gotta order those parts, get that done. But until those parts get here, we'll start working on some other stuff. For example, the gas tank needs painted. I just discovered there was a bunch of Bondo on here because there's a big old dent. So I don't know if I'm gonna sand that down, or I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. We'll figure it out.
And the plastic has a bunch of red paint.
Yeah, the plastics were painted red because it's sun faded. So I think I'm gonna strip all that paint off and repaint it better, make it look good. And then there's a bunch of white overspray for whatever reason on the headlight and everything, on all sorts of stuff actually, handlebars and everything. So gotta fix that. Other than that,
looks pretty good.
Yeah, ain't bad. So I guess we'll start working on that stuff. We're gonna take the fender off first, and front fender
And gas tank.
Yep. We'll strip the paint off the front fender, and we'll you know, make it look pretty. So let's start working on that. I might have just lost all the bolts for the CT9.
Well, that's not good.
We'll be fine. Alright, well, the fender's out. Now I just gotta clean up all this paint, take it off with brake clean. We should be good to go. Listen to it. They're not supposed to sound like that, are they? As you may hear, I think you can hear that. We're gonna have to mess with the shocks a little bit, maybe. Or I might just ignore that, I don't know. But something's up with the shocks. Okay, where's the fender go? Oh, here. Fender. So, as you can see, I already started taking some of this paint off, and it was flaking off. So, it turns out none of our brake clean cans have any propellant left in them, so that won't do. That stinks. We got starting fluid. It might, I don't know, it might do the same thing. Should be good enough. There's hardly any left in there, too. What do you know, Dawson? It isn't good enough.
Wow.
Gosh dang it. Where's that freaking...
How many was a damn recar?
Carb cleaner.
That ain't gonna work.
Yeah, well, same stuff as brake clean.
Well, we got carb clean.
I found some carb cleaner with a bent nozzle. Okay, this should work, I think. Oh yeah, that works. That works. So we'll just sit here scrubbing paint off this for a while and hope we don't run out of carb cleaner, and we'll get back to you when we're done with that. Is that seriously?
Bend that back.
It's fine.
Smells horrible.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Starter fluid smells worse.
We're all Famians. We don't need a mask or anything.
We'll be fine.
Oh, you want me to go get some brake clean from Sam's?
Sure.
Joel has a bunch.
Be quick.
Can I use the one?
Yeah.
Because the golf cart.
It's almost out of gas. You're taking what now?
CT90.
You take the golf cart.
Turn it on, choke.
Alright, well, he's gonna go find us some brake clean, because what do you know, we ran out of every other fluid that we have, so yeah. We have acquired brake clean. Alright, so Dawson, unfortunately, he had to go home, had some stuff to do. But anyway, now that we have finally acquired some brake clean, or, well, carb cleaner, same stuff, we can clean this paint off this plastic, finally. So, anywho, I'll just be doing that for a while. Okay guys, so I've got pretty much all the paint stripped off of this fender. Well, pretty much all of it should be fine. And I thought of something. So I figured I'm always seeing people on the internet brightening up faded plastics with a blowtorch. So I figured I'd try that and see how that works on this. So let's see here. Well, it looks like that might have done something. Not quite perfect, but tell you what, it's mostly just this one. I don't even know if you can see that on camera. There's this one faded spot right about here. It's unfaded. And I don't know. I'm not too worried about it, so I don't think I'm gonna paint over this, just because a lot of times painting over plastic doesn't look all that great, especially when it starts to chip. But anyway, I'm calling this good enough. So I suppose I'll put this back on the bike now. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna clean the overspray off the rest of the bike. So let's go do that. So as you can see, there's all this white spray paint overspray all over the handlebars and headlight and everything of this bike, even down here on the forks, which I don't even know how the heck this got on here. There's no white paint on the bike. But anyway, I'm gonna clean all this off, and yeah, I'll just be scrubbing on it for a little while. Alrighty, so I got a good portion of the paint cleaned off. There's still some on the handlebars and some on the headlight, but I ran out of brake clean again, so for crying out loud, I'm gonna need to buy more brake clean. But anywho, it's also getting a little bit late. I think I'm gonna head home and come back and start working on this again tomorrow. So see you then. Hey guys, so it is yet again a couple days later. I've been poking around with the wiring on this thing, and here, I'll show you what I figured out. So when I was testing for spark, didn't have spark, and the first thing I did was I cleaned up the spark plug. That didn't do anything. And then I checked the resistances of the different coils going to the stator, which are these wires here, and they all seem perfectly fine, so that's not a problem. You know, 200 ohms roughly on the two coils going to the CDI box, and then about an ohm and a half for the lighting coil, so all that checks out. The next thing I did was I replaced the ignition coil with two other random ignition coils I had sitting around, and none of those did it. So I don't think it's the ignition coil. So unfortunately, I think it's the CDI box. I ordered a used CDI box from eBay for about $100. Hopefully it'll work. It's actually for the later years of this bike. See, this is a SP125 1982. They made them in 82 to 83, and then they stopped making them for a couple of years, and they made them again in 86 to 88, I believe. The CDI box had different connectors, so I'll have to cut the connectors off of this one and hook them up onto the wires of the other one, but whatever. So while I'm waiting for that CDI box to get here, hopefully that'll fix our spark issue. In the meantime, I have some other parts. Some more parts came in for this thing. So here's a carburetor I bought for it. It's a used Kaihin PE30 from eBay. This one supposedly it came off of a 1982 Suzuki SP125, so this should be perfect. Now, one thing is, well, first of all, the choke mechanism is busted, so I'll have to order a new one of those for it. It also came with a main jet in there. You might be able to see that. That was too large for one of these bikes stock. So I ordered a size 100 main jet for this thing. Supposedly that's what these took, according to the internet. So I ordered one of them, put that in there, so the jetting should be right. My guess is this carburetor came off of a modified SP125, like higher airflow, air filter and exhaust, something like that. So whoever did that had to increase the size of the jet to, make the fuel-air ratio correct. So anyway, got that replaced because mine is stock. So I'll put back on this little cover for that jet. Now, the carburetor boot in here is actually too small for this carburetor to go in there. And the throttle slide that came with the bike actually was too small as well. This is the one that came with this carburetor. So it seems like someone must have put on a smaller carburetor at some point, because I highly doubt it came with that carburetor, that smaller carburetor, because this one, according to the eBay seller, this came off of one of these bikes exactly. So hopefully this will work, but anyway, I'll have to order a new carburetor boot for it. Other than that, we should be good to go. I'll just put this slide in here. Okay, so the carburetor should be good to go in there as soon as we have the new boot and whatnot. Also, the other thing that came in, I got a new spark plug, and these little, I don't know if you can see that, these little bushings here, these rubber bushings, are for the gas tank. They hold the gas tank in place. And one of them was missing, so ordered new rubber bushings. And also I got an oil drain plug, but turns out I ordered the wrong one. It's too small. So if you can see that, what I ended up doing here, was I just put that flathead bolt screw thing through that plate. I took the plate out, put that bolt through it with that aluminum crush washer, if you can see that, and I put a washer and a nut on the other side. And now I'm going to have to take this whole cover off to drain the oil, unfortunately, until I get the right size bolt, but that should work for now. And once I got that hole plugged, I got the oil in there. You can see there's full oil, so that should be ready to go. And it has plenty of compression too. It's got even more compression now that it actually has oil in it. So, oh, some gear apparently. I was a little worried the compression might have been low. The rings or the cylinder wall might have been worn, because I had no idea how long it had been sitting with no oil in it. If it had been ran or someone tried to run it with no oil in it, but it seems fine to me. We'll have to see if there's any valve noise once we get it running. So I think now all I should need is that CDI box, that carburetor boot, and a key switch, and this thing should be ready to go. Oh, and I gotta paint the gas tank, but other than that, I think she'll be ready to ride once I've got those parts. So I'll see you when those parts get in. Alright, so it's been a little while. I got the new CDI box for the Suzuki. Where's that at? There we go. As you can see, this CDI is not in that bike. The reason for that is I figured out, turns out it's just the kill switch circuit was shorted out to ground somewhere, so I messed with the wiring and now it has sparks, so I didn't need to buy this, which kind of sucks because it's like $100. But I also put that carburetor that I showed you into the bike, and I also got a carburetor boot, so I can put that carburetor in there. And then I shot some brake clean into the air intake of the carburetor, and it tried to run a little bit, but didn't want to fire and stay running. So I think I'm going to have to fill the tank with gas and get some gas flown to the carburetor before it'll, stay running. Also, this carburetor strangely doesn't hook up to the airbox, or it doesn't look like it's possible for it to hook up to the airbox like it should. Here, let me show you what I mean by that. So as you can hopefully see, that carburetor intake doesn't really want to line up with that airbox very well at all. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just pull the airbox out of there and put a, like a cold air intake style filter on here. But not sure why that is. Maybe the carburetor that these things came with were like flange carbs, so the flange was built into the carburetor so that it was closer to the engine. I'm not really sure. Anyway, cold air intake style filter should just fix that problem. But another thing I discovered is that it leaks oil. I filled it up all the way to the full line there. Now it's about halfway to the low indicator line. Also, you can see a pretty clear oil stain on this piece of cardboard I've had sitting under it. And I think it is leaking from the shifter lever, so that kind of sucks, but it leaks slow enough that I don't think I'm going to worry about it. So there's that. Another thing I did was I got that new key switch in there, so we're good to go there. Anyway, what we're going to do right now is take this gas tank, if I can get it off of here, and paint it. So first thing we got to do is give the entire thing a light sanding, just to make sure that paint's going to be able to stick to it and get rid of any dirt and stuff. So let's do that. The paint that I chose was this Rust-Oleum farm implement paint. Hopefully it should, hold up pretty well, because I'm not planning on clear coating this. So I want it to be something pretty durable. And I went with this toolbox red color. It looked like it was as close to this as I could find. Well, actually, I don't want to match this because this is slightly off, the slightly wrong color. I matched it to the fender, which actually is on the bike now. Now, I suppose, let's start working on sanding this tank down. so I've got the tank sanded down pretty good. I've got a rag stuffed into the gas nozzle thing, so no paint gets inside of there. And I think we should be ready to paint it, so just get to doing that. So we've got the first coat of paint on there. It's not perfect, but I'm not that great at painting stuff. But it should do. And I'll just wait for that to dry, at least mostly, and then I'll give it another coat. Hey guys, so I got this gas tank painted, as you can see. It's mounted on there. And then I painted the rear fender as well. Unfortunately, the paint isn't quite, perfect. You can see the front fender is just a little bit darker than the tank and the rear fender, but oh well, I'm selling it, so whatever. And then I put a little bit of gas in the tank, hooked it up to the carburetor, and it really wants to run. I just can't figure out why it won't keep running. I don't know. So I'm just gonna screw around with this, keep kicking it over for a while, see if I can get it to run, but I'll get back to you when I, make any progress. Okay, so she runs all right. I think it'll run better if I do a little tuning with the carburetor, but one problem is it is smoking like crazy. Yeah, I definitely need to tune that carburetor better, but it's really smoky. I think the main problem for that is just the fact that there's way too much oil in it. I overfilled it a little bit because it's leaking just a little bit, and oh, it's leaking. Yeah, we better fix that, but anyway. Yeah, I think it's just overfilled with oil, so I'm just going to drain that oil out of there and put the right amount of oil in it. Hopefully it'll quit smoking. Oh, well. Yeah, that's definitely not tuned right. Anyway, it runs. Heck yeah. Let's fix those problems.